In this video, we're looking at task 6 from the second sample assessment for business tax. So task 6 is about calculating taxable profits and corporation tax payable. So let's have a look at this question then. And it tells us, if you look at the requirements, calculate the taxable total profit for each period by completing the table below. Any amounts decreasing taxable total profit should be shown with negative fingers using a minus sign. Okay, so we've got a table there, and we can see there's a first period and a second period. We've got trading profit, investment income, chargeable gains, qualifying charitable donations, and then a total. So we can see in the information we've got a 15-month period ended 31st of October 2024. So what we need to do is split this into a 12-month period and a 3-month period. So for our trading profits, we've got a total profit of 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9. So if we divide by 15 months and multiply by 12 months, that means we've got a profit in the first period of 987,743. So do we need to do any rounding here? So it tells us to state all answers to the nearest pound. Okay, so there we go. That's 987,743. And if we take again the 1.234 million, if we divide by 15 and multiply by the remaining 3 months, that gives us a profit for the 3 months of 246,936. Again, rounding up a little bit there because we're rounding to the nearest pound. Okay. Next then, we've got a chargeable gain on the 12th of September. So chargeable gains need to be recognised in the relevant period. So that's just before the end of the year, isn't it? End of the 15-month period. So the 12th of September fits into the second period. So we need to put all of that into the second period. So we've got 18,902 in the second period. Next then, we have the interest received. And interest received needs to be accrued evenly because we'd be earning that interest over time. So we also need to recognise that over time in the appropriate periods. So if we take the 17,622, divide by 15 and multiply by 12, we get income of 14,098. Again, with a little bit of rounding because we need to round to the nearest pound. And then if we do the same, so we take the 17,622, divide by 15 and multiply by 3 for the second period, we have a total of 3,524. Okay, rounding down in this case. Okay, what about our donation to charity? That's on the 1st of January 24. So when is that going to be? That's going to be in the first period, isn't it? So that 1st of January fits into the first period. So we're going to put all of that into the first period. And remember, this is a charitable donation, so we can claim some tax relief for that. We can deduct that from our profits. So we're only going to be taxed on the remaining 996,841. Now do notice that for the interest received, we've put that under the heading of investment income because we would have invested some money with a bank or possibly with some bonds, for example, corporate bonds, and we'd be receiving interest on that investment. Okay, so let's move on to the next part then. So Company Q has taxable total profits of 160,000 for the year ended 31st of March 2025. It has no associated company. So we need to calculate the corporation tax payable for the period ended 31st of March 2025 and state our answer to the nearest pound. So let's have a look at the reference materials to guide us with this. So we're looking at section 4 on corporation tax. So we can see we've got a variety of limits. We've got our lower limit of 50,000 and an upper limit of 250,000. So in this case, we have a profit of 160,000, which is between the two limits. And therefore, we need to apply marginal relief. Okay, so our first step then is that we're going to take the 160,000 profits that they gave us in the question, and we multiply by the 25% that we have as our main rate, and that gives us 40,000 as tax. And then we need to apply our marginal relief, and so that's going to be 3 divided by 200 multiplied by the upper limit, which is the 250,000, and we deduct the taxable profit of 160,000. Okay. So 250,000 minus 160,000 is 90,000. We multiply by 3, divide by 200, and that gives us a relief of 1,350. So we can deduct that from the amount we calculated at the main rate. So that means we've got corporation tax to pay of 38,650. Now notice, before we move on, that we've got some asterisks here. It tells us we would reduce if there were any associated companies. But in this question it said there was no associated company. So there's no need for us to do any reductions here. So our corporation tax for the period is 38,650 after deducting the marginal relief. Okay, let's have a look at the next question now, which does have an associated company, so we can see how that works. So company R has taxable profits of 150,000 for the year ended 31st of March 2025. It's got one associated company. So again, calculate the corporation tax payable for the period. So before we start looking at the rates, we need to make some adjustments now. Yeah, we've got an associated company. So there is us, yeah, we are the company, plus our associated company, that's 2 companies in total, and we need to share the upper limit and the lower limit between the 2 of us. So if we divide by 2, that gives us 125,000, and here divide by 2 gives us 25,000. Okay, so there are our new limits, given that we're sharing the limit between us and the associated company. Okay. Now what's our profit in this case? The question tells us that we have a profit of 150,000, which is above the upper limit. Okay, so that means we simply apply the 25%. Okay, we don't have to have any marginal relief now. We're not in between the 2. So 150,000 times by the 25% gives us corporation tax of 37,500. And that's the answer we can put into our box in the exam software.